Yet again, I am let down by the democratic process horribly, and we've they chose Shadowrun for babies. We chose Shadowrun Babies as our next project there, so I get to put that down. Shadowrun Babies. This isn't going to be fun. That's not going to be fun at all, but I said I'd do it, so I'm going to do it. We also had Eagles and Rifles at 3 votes, which is Napoleonic role-playing, so that's pretty Poggerino, and I'm okay with that. Lisa Badlands Rumble, this will most likely be kind of a side project thing. If I don't have something to do on Saturday, I'd probably stream it. And we also have Okasan's Big Happy Family, which is totalitarian, Moe totalitarian state, enforce agencies of killing people through our bad. We also got a few odd ones out. Striker Z, Mecha Squad Action Combat got one. Requiem for the Sidekick got one. Black Shirts and Red Guards, otherwise known as I fucking hate Chad Walker, and will continue to tell him this. Fuck you, Chad. And Denmaku Yugi Lily, Toot Hoot Edition. Those all got one, so they're going to be on the list, but they're going to be after the big 3 up here. And the Redux. Help. So, the people decided that they want to put me through Exalted Litany of Creation, which is effectively Exalted for babies. Morons with pedigrees. And Soldat Sans Identité. And technically, this would be Silk and Steel. And this would be Refuse to Repeat. Mostly because I can make fun of Chad's Repeat the Signal, because I hate Chad Walker. So, those are the projects that were chosen by democracy, and that is why the entire intro to this stream was just someone screaming, because that was my feeling on it, and a good old Kermit committing suicide. So, but today, we're going to be doing something productive. Otherwise known as, we're going to go through Miro, and we're going to sort and organize everything. Yep, you heard me right, everyone. We're going to organize our really, really dull personal projects. The Redux projects. Refuse to repeat, yeah. Yeah, no, Soldat Sans L'Identité, I did call it JC Denton's Autism Human Revolution. You're pretty much everyone is playing JC Denton, for better or for worse, with including all his quirks. So hopefully that project goes well. But Redux projects will probably be the exact same way as before. I'll probably end up doing Morons with Pedigrees first, because I know how to do that one pretty easily. So pretty much the suspected 1 to 2 to 3 I'm looking for is Morons with Pedigrees, Silk and Steel. Probably then into Eagles and Rifles. And from there, we'll probably go right back into Soldat Sans Identité, RTR. And then we kind of have to play it by ear. And why I'm saying we're going to be playing it by ear is I need as much information as possible on Shadowrun and Exalted. I am going to be consulting as many people as I can to get as much as I can on Exalted and Shadowrun. Because the goal for most of those games are to effectively, how do you create? That is effectively the core concept of both of those. How do you create a refined system that keeps the theme and feeling of the original? How do you keep Shadowrun's eccentric nature? How do you keep Exalted's big and bombastic world? Because, and one of the hardest parts about both of those is that if you ask anyone of either of those two groups, all right, what's your ideal Shadowrun look like? What does your ideal Exalted look like? They will all tell you something different. And that does not help. That doesn't help at all. That's frankly awful. And that's just something I'm going to have to work with, and I'm going to need to consult as many people as I can, and whoever is available, effectively. So I should say, if anyone has any input when it comes to what they would want from Shadowrun and what they would want from an Exalted game, hit me up. I am open, I am available. You know where to find me, you know where to yell at me, and you know where to call me a faggot at. Please, anything. I will do anything for information in that regard. But what we're really going to be looking at right now, we're going to be looking at iPhone. We're going to be looking at getting Eagles and Rifles set up, Shadowrun Babies, and Okasan's Big Happy Family. These are my big three. Exalted is going to need a pretty big fucking overhaul. And why Exalted is going to need a big fucking overhaul? It is because if I go to project folder dice and we go to Notepad Exalted. This is Litany of Creation. Litany of Creation was last updated. It's actually back in July. So it's been almost a year since I've touched Exalted Litany of Creation in any meaningful sense. And it has been longer since I've actually had big input on it. Because Exalted Litany of Creation in general, was a game I didn't know what to do with. I used a 2DX system with the X determining whether or not you're a celestial. It's a celestial, terrestrial, or celestial, minor celestial, terrestrial, or mortal. Depending on that's kind of like what your dice is. It was a 2DX plus attribute plus skill. It was a really simplistic system, and it had its problems. So I'm going to need to fix it. So arguably, Exalted isn't going to be much of a redux as it is going to be me going through and gutting the entire thing and almost starting from the ground up, because it is that much of a problem. And there's so much random shit here. This is when I still had the health states. You have the cast and aspect system. You have this fucking Skeletor for Abyssal Exalted. Like, this was kind of a mess even back then, because I was like, how do I do this? And it didn't work. Nothing quite worked with it. And that's why it's been on the back burner for so goddamn long, for that reason. Because it's been so far out there, and it used Drive from the JoJo game, and it was like, here's Nax, and I think one of the biggest issues with this game can kind of be summarized as a lot going on, but nothing at all. Because Exalted is massive. Exalted needs to account for so many different things. There's a reason the fucking Exalted book is God knows how many pages. Actually, how many pages is Exalted? Fantasy. Where's my Exalted books? yeah, just like, there's a reason why Exalted by itself is 686 pages long. This is third edition, the latest. And like, this book is massive. Now, yeah, if you take everything out, like lore wise, it would be not as much, but even then, it's like, here's all the different parts of it. Here's all the different traits that people seem to forget about quite often because it's stupid and very clunky. Here's the different mortal healings, and the mortal healing is different from the exalted healing, and don't forget your moat pool, which is different from your other pools. There's a lot going on in exalted, and that's one of the reasons why it's like, I need to cut it down, and I need to edit it, and I need to fix it, and I need to unga bunga make better. Do I know how to unga bunga make better? Absolutely not, but that's going to be half the fun of it. Well, let's see what other parts, like, all of this I'm going to need to rehaul, like a full overhaul to make it the way that it needs to be. Because there's a lot, and it doesn't work. Hence why there's like this entire section of like bizarre free content. Like, I was just throwing shit at the wall. Because I'm like, it needs this stuff. But it doesn't. So that's why, like, what the hell is this? Creation 2 prelim. Yep, this is back in January. Preliminary go. Yep, 2D. Yep, this is all my parts. I kept asking questions, and no one really gave me any good answers when it came to it. Oh god, what other ones do we have to fix? So, Silk and Steel, like, morons with pedigrees is not going to be too difficult to actually fix. And why I'm saying it's not going to be too difficult to fix, if I can actually find it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Because it's going to be taking this, Petals in the Wind, and putting it in there. That is literally going to be it. I'll probably be throwing in some more little additions, but overall that might just be a little, like, 1 episode game, you know, to fix up, because there's just fixing. That's all it is. Now people are pinging me in things they shouldn't be pinging me in. Oh god, let's see what other ones we have here. I should actually mark you as color. Wrong color. There we go. So, let's see. What games are we? Shadowrun, on the other hand, is going to be another big, scary nightmare monster to deal with, because it is Shadowrun. And to give you the idea of Shadowrun, welcome to 5th edition, a 489-page super document full of shit. 489 super document full of shit. And there are a lot of parts to this, and there's pretty much picture putting this entire section, putting all of this in, putting all of these things, all of these parts, and putting it into a single game to make it nice and clean and pretty. And now you may be wondering, Notepad, what about the other Shadowrun? You know, Shadowrun 6th edition. And what we say to that is, Shadowrun 6th edition doesn't actually exist, because it's bad. But, like, that's just gonna be a long and fun adventure. I thought I had Anarchy. I could have swore I had Shadowrun Anarchy. Where is it? Where are you? It's not here. I lost Shadowrun Anarchy. Pooh. But That's Shadowrun babies, effectively. It's like, how do you take the concepts of Shadowrun and break it down to its core components? I'm not looking forward to that. Not looking forward to that in one bit. Because there's going to be a lot of it. A lot of things make Notepad sad. Very sad. Incredibly sad. Let's see. Eagles and rifles, that's going to be a weird one. Okay. What are you? Yeah, you can. Okay, weird. You guys didn't see that, but there was a box there saying viewer rewards. I'm like, So we want to do this eagles and rifles. And lock it. So the core idea behind eagles and rifles is going to be Napoleonic role-playing. And Napoleonic role-playing is weird because the Napoleonic era is in such a weird time that it's difficult to come up with things, because if we... Here, let's... The Napoleonic era was roughly about 1800 to about 1815. That's like what we're going to call the Napoleonic era. It's that early 19th century and all of the associated issues with it. Now, why don't we see a lot of games featuring the funny Frenchman who does the funnies? There's two reasons, mostly. Because, well, Napoleonic era was an era about armies, about politics, about these grand scale endeavors that the individual didn't really matter as much as the grander scheme. Rolling back a few years into the late 1700s and even mid to late 1700s, you had things like the Age of Sail, you had pirates, you had colonialism, you had a lot of things to work off of. Fast forward into the late 18th, kind of the mid to late 1800s, you have the second wave of colonialism. You have that kind of pulpy era of, people are shooting faster, people are, kind of smaller expeditions are a lot more popular. It's you have room to have individual stories. The Napoleonic era does not have that. The Napoleonic era does not have that really at all, because it was a time of armies. It was a time of large military endeavors. It was a time of the the glorious world of fucking mass artillery. It was a time of imperialism, but it wasn't. It was more of a, how do we secure our empire rather than how do we expand it. Napoleon was a character and a half, because he was such a charismatic force of nature. He was able to exude that power, that influence over people, because he was so powerful. And it was about the larger scale of things. That's why Napoleonic era actually sees a lot of wargaming, because that was like you could argue that was kind of the first era of very large scale warfare, of these continent spanning conflicts that really changed the face of Europe. It was thousands on each side. It was let's curious. We want to do. Nope, didn't want to move that. I want to view. How many people are at the Battle of Waterloo? Like, the Battle of Waterloo itself had 73,000 Frenchmen and 118,000 of the combined forces of Britain and Prussia. You know, we wouldn't see that scale of warfare in Europe until about World War I, because it was so massive, and it was such a huge endeavor. However, one interesting thing about the Napoleonic era, and one thing about this era in general that I'm going to play into a little bit, is I'm not going to shy away from this. What I am going to do is kind of embrace it. How do I want to do this? It's a French Armored Corps. Taking the idea of like Napoleon's cavalry with the cuirassiers and such like that, how they were organized with the various companies and the various soldiers, I thought about it. What is, at the end of the day, you know, a company? Okay, let's take like an example right here. Where is it? The regiment. We want to look at the company. So, for the cuirassiers, at the end of the day, you have 3 officers, 2 lieutenants, 1 marshal, sergeant major, 2 sergeants, 1 brigand corporals, a trumpeter, and 74 privates. And then you have things like, dragoons and foot dragoons, and you have how to best word this. You have room. And what I'm going to do is I want to play into that. I want to play into pretty much, dare I say, large scale command. As the players, you are not going to be a single person. You are going to be taking the role of a regiment, of a company, effectively. And that's going to be the player's job, is to kind of manage that company. It's going to be your baby. It's going to be your company as you go to war, as you take casualties, as you lose men, as you gain men, as you struggle, as you try to make your fight to survive. And I want to get that across as, like, you are more than the sum of your parts. Like, you are the group. You are this mass group of individuals. Actually, so I should put... one thing about this, I've been debating on whether or not I want to do historical or fantastical. And there is a fantasy, Napoleonic fantasy. There is I would dare say, like a subset, a subgenre, which can be best described as Napoleonic fantasy, where you get things like people looking like this, and flintlock fantasy, that's what it is. Let's see, Flint. It's kind of go under this idea a little bit more, kind of the flintlock fantasy idea. I don't know yet. I need to get a little bit more research and market research in that regard of like what people are looking for, because there's definitely room for there. So actually what I should say is because you can make kind of a flintlock fantasy, and I'll put a note here for myself. I might put it into a Strange Reel setting. I might put it part of the greater Strange Reel setting, which I really need to fix and really need to make. Just make my own the Notepad combined universe. One of the other major parts about this is what I want to do is, but dare I say, lethality of war. I've gone over this a few times. Like, I want characters to feel dramatic. So, let me see. Characters feel dramatic. Characters die dramatic. Is I don't want characters to be like really like super tanks. Like, I'm going to take on the Untitled Cavalry by myself. No, I don't really want characters to do that. I want characters to feel like they can die, and that's like a ever-present threat that they have to deal with. Dying is getting shot with a fucking flintlock. It sucks. You're gonna die. Which is one of the reasons why I think that this kind of era of game doesn't really take off. It doesn't, like, it's hard to pitch to a lot of people. Like, alright, like, I'm gonna make a game where I could die in a single hit. Like, that's a hard pitch for a lot of people. But if you make them a little bit more dramatic and give them like Benny points or something, like you can make things work. How I want to do that, I don't know yet. But again, I need a little bit more market research on this one. And that is what this weekend is going to be. Going to be me asking about gorillion questions to people and seeing what they actually want. Let's see. Taking concepts from Project Tactics. Not the regiment, it's going to be the company-sized role-playing. Company-size to, God, what's below a company? Below a company. No, it's I'm not 5 below. Army size company. Military units. If we want to go down 1 squadron, not the battalion. So the company would be the platoon. The platoon! Let's see. So yeah, we would probably go down to... Yeah, it would be a platoon level even. If anything, I might give each... company size with the idea that each player takes, company sized, but the idea being that players control individual platoons. That could work. It's not going to be flawless, of course, but I mean, that's a pretty good idea. That would kind of compensate, like, oh no, my character has died. Well, yeah, you have an entire platoon of people to kind of replace him with. Kind of getting promoted up the ranks, you could say. I might also be borrowing a little bit from, God, what's that game? Chinese Napoleonic waifu game. What's that game? Banner of the Maid. My Google Foo is on fucking queue when I can just type in Chinese waifu Napoleon game. I might borrow some ideas with that because, fun fact, that is Napoleon in the middle there. Yeah. What if the French Revolution, except everyone is a waifu? that is the pitch of the game, effectively. Like, what if every character was in fact just a waifu or a husbando, in case you're into that. Like, it's been on my like to get list for a while, but I'm like, every time I'm like, I'm gonna get it, I'm like, no, I don't think I am. I don't think I am, because I'm not that much of a degenerate that much. So our next game is Okasan's Big Happy Family. Now, for those who don't speak weeb, Okasan can best be described as saying mom. So you can roughly call this Mom's Big Happy Family. And the entire idea is... how did I end up wording this? I wrote this setting a long-ass time ago. I wonder if I can find it. This would be in... This would be in the ER, wouldn't it? Yeah, Dead Project ER. Extenders, yeah, my 15 extenders. Okasan, okay, there we go. You can tell how old this is because it's like, nope, yeah, Doc X. Yeah, God, this is really bad. Pretty much the entire idea was that in a setting, like, what if you deal with the best way to word it is the moe-talitarian state? Yeah, the moe-talitarian state doesn't seem that scary. Just the idea of, instead of a brutal totalitarian regime where we crush your will to live, you instead pretty much give everyone incredibly comfortable and just let them be subservient on their own will. That was the idea, and I remember my friend was like, man, that would be really fucked up, wouldn't it? And I'm like, that would be fucked up. That would be real fucked up. But I kind of rolled with it, and again, it became the moe-talitarian state. Pretty with the core idea is everyone is so fucking happy that everything is great. Nothing is wrong. Do not resist. And one of the ideas, I want to kind of borrow a little bit from paranoia from it. Like, one of the major ideas of paranoia is that, you know, Friend Computer has managed to pretty much jack everyone up on drugs to the point where they don't even quite realize what's going on. But I wanted to get the same idea with this one, but the idea is, it's not because he's pumping chemicals into the air to make everyone subservient. It's effectively, everyone has willingly decided to become servants to their base desires. We are, you know, slaves to ourselves. And the idea is that you are taking the role. Let me see. Players take the role of family members. The entire idea of being a member of family is that you are designed almost to upkeep the status quo. In a normal setting, in a normal kind of world, you guys would be the bad guys because you are effectively the Moe secret police. And you kind of have to uphold this status quo of everyone just being happy. Everything's so great and wonderful. It's not. You know, it's kind of that idea of rampant corporatism and, you know, post capitalism. Pretty much what happens when the government has been replaced by corpse, you know, people kind of blinding them with entertainment. What does the government do? Well, the government tries to uphold everything. We want everyone, this is good. People pay their taxes, people work when they need to work, and everyone is good. And it's mostly a game of keeping the status quo and dealing with deviance. How do you deal with someone who isn't on their happy pills? Who's seeing things for the first time and realizing things have gone really off the deep end and oh no, everything is bad and awful. You need to stop that. And it's, how do you keep everything and everything going smoothly? And the idea is that the main enemies are going to be either robots, mutants, or freedom fighters. Because you see this a lot, and I think in like dystopian novels and such. It's just like, oh, we want people to be free to make decisions on their own, and it's like, what happened? Like, I always thought, like, what if people don't want to do that? What if we've just said, you know what? I want the government, or I want the corporation to make decisions for me, because why wouldn't I? Thinking is hard, and everything is nice here. So that's where kind of like the setting is based on. And probably we're going to want going to be lighter with more creative elements. That's what, like, I want this to be kind of an investigative game. Kind of dip my toes into that a little bit. I have never actually done an investigative game before, which I think that could be it will definitely be something. Good, bad, I do not know yet, but it'll definitely be something. And hippity hop. Oh, no, things are falling. Ooh. So, what do we want to do? We want to So what is the N3? So if we look at Notepad, things Notepad Anon wants to do, it is, where is it? Right here, N3. Notepad's narrative nightmare. What is the Notepad narrative nightmare? How do you take Apocalypse World? How do you make Apocalypse World and fix it? How do you give, Apocalypse World teeth, but maintaining its identity? But actually, what I should say is, but maintaining the flow and concepts behind Apocalypse World. Because Apocalypse World is one of those games where you see a bunch of Apocalypse World games, and I think that Blaze in the Dark did a pretty good example of shifting it to a new land, a new concept. And there's a reason, what is it, Powered by the Dark or something? What's the Forged in the Dark, that's it. Is kind of the new thing where everyone wants to make a Forged in the Dark game, but everyone's still making Apocalypse World games. So it's let's see what's going on, what's happening, hippity hoppity. I may do that, I may not, I don't know yet. That's kind of a possible thing up in the air right now. If not, we'd probably do like a basic like D6 system. If not, I want this to be kind of, actually what I should do is JTRPG styled. What does this mean is, like, your character is going to be done by the time you finish character creation. You can play a single session and be done with it. You've played the game, you are done with it, and if you want to play another game, cool, but you don't have to. That's not the point. You can kind of do whatever you feel like doing. And what's the other point I want to make with this one? Oh yeah. Character options and choices. Basic class system. Like in the original doc I have here, the idea is, newly trained individual take the field of their training with uniforms and little else. The goal of family agents promote as much peace as possible and disturbing the bliss walkers. Time is grounds to demotion to death jockey. All agents know the basics of CQC, data retrieval, and drug administration. And pretty much when you graduate, you get to choose pretty much what you specialize in. Are you physically augmented? Do you get super training? Do you get more? It's pretty much you get a different amount of things to augment you and allow you to become better at your job if you can tackle higher threat things. So pretty much like it would need to be almost a upgrade system possibly. Though I will say, I'm going to put a note here. These two will not get along if that's the case. Problem children. Like these two possibly won't get along together. I don't know how that would work very well. But that's just something I gotta work with and play it by ear. If I go through the N3, I may be able to do something here, but I don't know yet. That's kind of, again, it's in the air. This is early. This is why we're doing this. We want to get the basics on paper, because if they're on paper, we don't got to worry about them anymore. So what is the other game that we have a potential of working on? And if I actually do what I'm supposed to do, because I'm very smart and do the smart thing and close documents I'm not supposed to, dumb, ha, har, har. We could probably do, if we, depending on how Lisa goes, actually I could probably like do Lisa on here. So the idea behind Lisa is that it's going to be a skirmish game. Click that. It's going to be a skirmish game with one main and many goons. So pretty much you, the player, are going to be taking the role of, the player. Player is the boss, and they have a number of goons. However, each boss is going to, bosses are going to be composed of keywords. Those keywords affect what kind of goons you can recruit, and if you have certain goons together, well, you can get some cool combinations. Like for example, my boss might be a mutant thug. All of my goons can be based on either mutant listing or thug listings. Now I can also make dual class ones. So like, oh yeah, if I'm a mutant thug, I can invest in a mutant thug goon. Now the idea is your boss is a powerful member of the team that's always going to be deployed. Your goons are going to be a powerful member of the team always being deployed. However, this game is going to be based around, based around campaign. We're going to call it campaign play. And what does this actually mean? Pretty much, I don't want a game of this, Badlands Rumble, to go to start and then end with one. Well, you can do that if you want, but the game is really going to encourage you to continuously play the same team and build them up over a course of time until someone wins or someone loses, most likely. And pretty much it's going to be something similar to, Mordheim / Necromunda. Not as personal as Mordheim and Necromunda. It's not like each individual soldier is going to be really important. If you want to do that, cool, but you don't have to. But pretty much it's going to be the boss, goons, and companions. And the idea being that boss is the strongest, goons are the weakest, goons are disposable, and companions are tough and reliable. So, but one of the big thing about the boss is the boss can't die, only get injured. And what does that actually mean? The idea is if a character dies, they're dead. Actually, I should put that as a note. Death is death. So if you have a goon and one of your goons gets torn in half, that goon isn't going to come back alive next time around. Unless, you kind of agree that it's a one-off. That goon's dead. They're not coming back. If one of your companions dies, they're not coming back. But every time you win, or every time you lose even, you're going to get a small amount of money out of it that you can use to buy more goons, more companions, more things. And that's arguably the point. That every time you win, you're replacing your losses and building your gang up. The biggest issue is what happens when the boss gets injured, or when the boss dies. If the boss goes down in a fight, they pretty much you lose the fight, and your boss gets dragged away by the guys. And you take a penalty. You're going to take pretty much a wound that is going to show up on his character every subsequent fight. Now it could, and I would probably do like a random chart of like a D20 chart or something of random wounds that can occur. Like, oh hey, his eye's been ripped out. He can't see as far, and so his ranged weapons aren't as good. Oh, his arm has been mangled. He can't use two-handed weapons anymore. Oh, but there's also sometimes, like, good things that could happen. Like, oh, hey, he's been on the brink of death, so he no longer fears death. You can't fear him anymore. Or, hey, we replaced his leg with a bionic leg, and, now he is, like, half man, half metal, and he's just tougher for it. Or he just gets scarred up, and he's just a badass, tough, unkillable death machine. But after a certain number of wounds, the boss is going to die, and that's where kind of the campaign aspect comes in. It's like, if the boss is dead, you're out of the game. Well, of course you can view things, and that's why I say it's a bitch to get your guys killed. Like, it's, like, if you get your boss killed, it's not because you have, it's a little bit of time have gone by and you've like 2 matches have gone by and you died. No, it's 4 or 5 matches have gone by and he's repeatedly gotten down. He's repeatedly gotten killed, or he got hit by something really bad. But it's up the tech tree a little bit, so you gotta work for it. It's a definitive like campaign ender near the end of a campaign from a group of friends. It's like, yep, I'm out of the campaign now because my boss has lost 4 times and got fucking brained. Fuck. And I want that to feel impactful. I want that to feel scary in a way. So you're always kind of like, do I pull back? And I want it to be the perfectly valid option to say, I don't want to fight this anymore. I'm gone. Bye. Knock out enemies, drag home. You want to pay ransom. And maybe that's the entire point. And I was thinking about, like, some keywords may have, like, you can only take one of these keywords, but it's like, I'm a joy mutant. And, instead of being like, you don't, like, get traditional money because you're a bunch of joy addicts. joy-addicted mutants who are unthinking, unfeeling monsters who want to eat things, i.e. other people. Your entire idea is to kill people and drag them away and eat them. That is how you get more joy mutants. Any of your friends, guys, OD on joy, they become joy mutants and join you. That's just something you gotta deal with. It's a kind of a fight in that regard. It's a lot more narrative than I would say a lot of than I would say even more akin to Frostgrave in some cases, with like not necessarily leveling up or anything like that, but very much the campaign is the important part. And what I should put here is probably lighter resolution, accommodate more people, D6 dice pool, D6, D8, maybe a D6 system. Actually, maybe like a stacking dice system. Just hit a certain value, like 4 or something. I do like my 4s, but that's something I'm just going to have to work with. I actually don't design many skirmish games, so kind of playing around with skirmish games is going to be fun. I think I'm going to enjoy that. So there is our 3. Some are a lot more detailed than others, but right now it's just a lot of finding that information to get what I need out of it, especially when it comes to Shadowrun, where I need ideas, and I need to amass a set of ideas to get things going. So I'm going to call it there for now. Thank you all for watching. It's been fun. We've got a lot of work done, and this may not seem fun and exciting, but it's important to do, because if you do it now, you don't gotta worry about it later. So thank you very much. My name is Notepad Anon, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And I'll catch you probably on Monday. We'll be doing the Redux for Morons with Pedigrees. So, thank you, and have a good night.